Hola Cristina, I'm gonna do a webinar, a video clip following the same step that I was showing you during the webinar. I'm gonna speak English so it's easier with the terminology. So here is your desktop for Vistas. So add a new course. I'm gonna call it Spanish 1, and my settings will be either basic course will be fine. You put your start date and end date. I will show your school. Then I'm gonna use the content of basic course since you've never done this course before. You're gonna choose the 6 lessons that you mentioned. If you have a super site plus with a vtext, make sure that you choose that. You're gonna choose if you want the video support in Spanish or Spanish and English, technical support, if you want students to submit score review, help request, etc., etc. And then you're going to choose the basic course. Will give you just one category, which is homework 100%. But we mentioned that you wanted to do, let's say, 70% homework and then 20% quizzes and 10% final exam, quizzes and chapters test, and then you can adjust it. So let's add a category, call it quizzes and tests, or you can change that, or you can just call it tests in general, and it will require from you to choose the weight. You can choose or change that. You can decide if you want graded or not graded. This is quiz, of course, will be graded. If you want to drop any grades, because it's a test, I would recommend you just to do one attempt. You will decide if you want the strictness, if you want accents or capitalization. I usually don't include that, but it's up to you. And of course, you want to include enhanced feedback. Then if you want let submission, if you allowed students to let submissions, you will have to decide if the students will be penalized. Let's pretend that you don't allow late submissions. Remember that if you allow late submission, you have to put the percentage, or if it's a flat percentage, etc., etc. Here we have now 20%. But because I'm going to add another 10%, I'm going to have to change this again to 70%. And again, you can change anything related to the grading and the lateness, okay? And then I'm going to add one mark category called final exam, and you can call it anything you wish to call it. And again, I'm going to assign 10%, and I have to follow all the prompts to decide if I want attempts, the strictness, feedback, lateness or low lateness. And here we go. We have 70%, 20%, and 10%. Again, you can keep adding as many categories as you wish. Once I have that, I will have to add the section. I will call the section section A. It really doesn't matter. And once I have all that created, I'm not going to create another section. Then I have my section right here. Now it is very important that you, once you start assigning activities, let's say I assign all the presentaciones and tutorials for lesson 1, I will have to choose the category. That would be homework. You actually can do, let me take it back, just thought about something. You might want to also edit the section. I'm sorry, I'm going to edit the course, not the section. I thought about something that you might want to do. Instead of having just homework, you can have something called tutorials that only, again, 10%. But those tutorials are credit, no credit at all. That's it. And you can allow how many attempts you wish, and you allow if you want late assignments to be accepted or not. And I'm going to switch this to 60%. And why did I do that? So now we added up 100%. I'm going to save that. So you can always change that. Remember, I'm going to go back to my course. And at the course level, always at the course level, I'm going to choose the activity. So now, all the tutorials, I'm going to choose it in the category called tutorials, which are credit, no credit. If I choose any practice activities, those I'm going to put it into something called homework or practice, whatever you want to call it. You can even have a section called communication. Once we get into the assessment, if it's any vocabulary quizzes or grammar quizzes or even lesson test, I'm going to assign them in the category called test. And of course, I have to make it available when I want to make it available. And just let me go over this very quickly. It's very important that you put when it will be released. So if it's a specific day, you can choose when it will be released. I usually release it a week before the semester starts. I'm sorry, a week before the quiz is due. Let's say that the quiz is due on this date, so a week before, and I put when will be released. When I release it manually, then the grades will be released. You can choose when the time that it will be due and how many minutes. So usually I put 120 minutes, and if you have a proctor test, you can have a password. Because the course so I have to change all that. I'm going to put random dates. It really doesn't matter. There we go. Okay, so now once everybody takes the test, you can release the grade. Once you actually grade them, you can release the grade. And in terms of the final exam test, remember that we talked about multi-lesson exam. So once I assign that, the category that I would choose will be final exam. Again, you will have to put availability, due date time, limit time, etc., etc. And then it will show here. I hope this helps.